The Jaitley versus Amarinder Singh battle in Amritsar has set the pulse racing. With a view to fighting his outsider tag, Mr. Jaitley has moved to the city with his entire family. Both he and Amarinder Singh are reiterating their linkages to this ancient city. But the jury is still out on who the people of Amritsar will vote for.
The holy city of Amritsar, no stranger to battles, is now gearing up for another battle royale between two stalwarts of Indian politics. Veteran BJP leader Arun Jaitley, who has roots in Amritsar, is taking on Punjab's former Chief Minister Captain Amarinder Singh. The political clash of titans, one making his debut in electoral politics and another a reluctant entrant into the Lok Sabha field.
भारत की जनता उम्मीदों से आगे निकल गई है। सबने उम्मीदें दी है, सबने चोन मैनिफेस्टो दिया है, करना किसी ने कुछ नहीं है।
नहीं, यहाँ बात पंजाब की नहीं आती, जहाँ तो विकास की बात आएगी, इसलिए हम जेटली साहब को जिता के भेजेंगे।
जेटली जी अमृतसर के नहीं है, उनके जो पुरखे हैं, जो उनके ग्रैंड है या वो फैमिली वो इधर के ही है। पंजाबी हमारे से भी अच्छी बोलते हैं, पंजाब का वो समझते हैं।
Traditionally a Congress stronghold, Amritsar has backed BJP's Navjot Singh Sidhu since 2004. But anti-incumbency has forced a change of guard in the BJP. A card Amarinder Singh is playing to the hilt. Congress is also playing up Amarinder's past experience as Chief Minister and his royal roots. Standing on top of an open truck, Amarinder and his team display a renewed sense of confidence. Confidence which was missing after the humiliating loss in the last assembly elections.
Mr. Jaitley is no heavyweight candidate. He's just a candidate of the BJP.
In the other camp, there is no sign that the BJP candidate is an electoral novice. The campaign itself is high octane, with personal barbs being exchanged frequently.
He is in the company of those who are guilty, the guilty men of 1984.
As the April 7 deadline inches closer, the battle for Amritsar is getting fiercer, shriller and dirtier.
Away from the air-conditioned environs of Delhi, Mr. Arun Jaitley is campaigning hard in the villages of Amritsar. Mr. Amarinder Singh's entry into the electoral fray has certainly livened up the contest. And Arun Jaitley is sparing no effort as he moves from village to village, trying to sell himself as the local boy who's returned home. I'm with Mr. Arun Jaitley, the BJP's candidate from Amritsar. Arunji, you've been in politics for over 3 decades now, or even more. This
4 decades.
4 decades. And this is your first electoral debut. How does it feel?
Well, first of all, let me tell you, I have been in mass politics since the mid-70s. In fact, my big election was 1977. I was the convener of all the youth organizations, and we used to campaign and address large rallies in the Momentum at that time. Thereafter, I settled down in law. I remained a political worker of my party. I didn't know whether I'm getting into electoral politics. One day I was all of a suddenly called and asked to become a minister. I was not even an MP. So I've been in Rajya Sabha. Thereafter, my party used to repeatedly ask me to organize elections. So they thought I am a professional organizer of elections within the party. But this time they put a dual responsibility on me, that I must organize the elections, I must also contest one. And I'm quite happy doing that.
Apparently in 2004, there was this talk of you contesting, and then at the last minute something happened.
The closest I got was actually in 1989. The senior leadership of the BJP wanted me to contest the South Delhi seat. And then somehow Mr. Khurana contested. I think that was the closest I ever came to.
I mean, are you contesting because you also want to do away with the tag, because your opponents
outside and some even within the BJP have always labelled you as somebody who's more adept at drawing room politics, back room at political managing rather than getting his hands dirty in the electoral fray.
You see, to be very honest, I've done a lot more than that.
Well, certainly, but...
And all I'll say is, contesting an election is a legitimate and a necessary part of experience and training of any political worker. And if you get that opportunity, I think it's a privilege.
So, you've been based in Delhi for a very long time now. Your opponents are trying to pit you as the outsider. They say you will not have time to, involve yourself in the nitty-gritty of problems that befall an average person from Amritsar.
You see, I've never neglected any responsibility I have taken. First of all, let me tell you, we are now driving at a place which is about 5 kilometers from the border. The closest two cities from this point are Lahore and Amritsar. That was the heart of Maja. My father was a resident of Lahore. My mother came from Amritsar. They were married a year before partition. My mother was born here. My sister was born here. Curiously, my wife, who belongs to Jammu and Kashmir, was also born here.
Oh, so you have strong linkages.
Yeah, and we have a lot of family on both sides. My father's side, my mother's side, my wife's side. Our family had a family business here. If I get all my cousins and their children and everybody together, and their relatives in turn, we are a large family in Amritsar. Culturally, because we couldn't go much to Lahore, I've been there once, because it's a separate country now. I am, for people who know me, a lot out of me is Punjabi.
You're a Punjabi at heart.
No, I'm a Punjabi in toto. Culturally, I speak the language. My accent belongs to here. And then, fortunately, for the last 15 years, I've been in charge of the BJP Akali campaign in all elections, and I used to be based out of Amritsar. So I am on first name terms with all the important workers. They treat me as one. And I think I'm more. There's more Amritsari blood in me than in a gentleman who comes from Patiala.
Yes, and that gentleman has launched a very high voltage campaign against you. He says you belong to the club of 165.
Well, his campaign is not gentlemanly, because his language and idiom is not very gentlemanly at times. But then I'm also too long in this game. I'm not going to be cowed down by that kind of an impolite language. I've made the strongest attacks on government in Delhi in Parliament, but I've done it in a language of dignity. I've couched it in a graceful manner so that nothing gets expunged ever. Well, I can assure you, there's a groundswell in the country in favor of Narendra Modi. There's a groundswell, and I was the first one to use this exact phrase a year and a half ago, that we must declare Modi as the candidate because there's a groundswell in his favor. Now, having said that, he's the front runner. The BJP is the front runner. So I replied back in the same manner that Congress in Lok Sabha, in the next Lok Sabha, will be a 75 club. And I don't see Captain Saab as a part of that 75 club.
You believe the Congress will not even win 75 seats?
No, I have predicted 75 approximately. So I'd rather talk about a realistic 75 club rather than an hallucination about a 160 club.
Yeah, but one reason why people are encouraged to do so is because they say a lot seems to be happening. There's a Sushma Swaraj who's disgruntled. There's Mr. Advani who sulks from time to time. There's Mr. Jaswant Singh who's now contesting as an independent. So there's a lot that lends itself to this kind of speculation.
You see, I think we are making a mountain of what's not even a molehill. Mr. Advani always said he wanted to contest Gandhinagar.
But he was miffed that he was treated as just one of the also-rans. His name was, he was in the 5th list rather than...
Every name was recommended, and there's not a single exception when the particular state came. I myself was in the third list. Narendra Modi was in the third list. Because when UP came, when Punjab came, we were declared at that time. Only Nitin Gadkari was in the first list. So I don't think the seriatim consideration of states has anything to do with the dignity of an individual. If Punjab had been considered last, I would have been declared right to the end. It doesn't make a difference.
But what about Jaswant Singh? You know, he had one last wish that he be allowed Barmer, and he wasn't.
Well, I have a serious response to this. You see, political parties' relationship with its leaders is an issue. Its membership, I've written in my blog, is a privilege. The party can give you a lot. In this case, the party gave him 9 times the membership of parliament from different constituencies in both houses of parliament. He's a very respected senior leader of the party. If 9 times for 34 years it can send you to parliament, please have broad shoulders to take no for an answer once. And no doesn't mean never. No means the constituency considerations of winnability you can't be adjusted this time. Probably in near future, there are going to be several opportunities. Obviously, we all wanted him to be a part and an active part of the system. And I think he lost his patience. I would have been happier if he'd followed the course of silence, which would have, in consonance with his personality, looked more dignified.
Mr. Jaitley, in these parts, you are being spoken of very, you know, I've heard a lot of Akali leaders and we've read about them. You're being spoken of as a potential Deputy Prime Minister, as the number 2 man in Mr. Modi's government. What kind of role do you envision for yourself?
Can I tell you one thing? These are things which are never discussed. And in the course of an election campaign where a minister in Madhya Pradesh or Badal Sahab in Punjab makes about senior leaders such compliment.
Does it embarrass you or create complications for you?
Temporarily it does, but then I think these are only supposed to be pats on the back. Any serious, mature politician will never take it as anything beyond a pat on the back.
Thank you, Mr. Jaitley. So that was Mr. Jaitley with camera person Sanjay Chaudhary. This is Javed Ansari on the campaign trail in Amritsar for Headlines Today. I have with me Captain Amarinder Singh. His last-minute entry into the electoral fray in Amritsar has set this place agog with excitement. Captain Saab, surprising 11th hour entry into the electoral fray?
Well, because I felt that I would probably be better touring the whole of all my 13 seats, having been a PCC President and Chief Minister for 16 years. And that's what I told the CP. But then in the end, she rang me up just 5-6 days ago and said, I've thought it over and I think you should fight Amritsar. I said, fine.
You were reluctant to begin with, weren't you?
No, because of this. Reluctance was because I thought I'd be more useful.
You weren't worried about prospects?
In elections, you know, so many elections one has fought, I've lost before. I've won many. So, yeah, this is part of the game.
Mr. Badal has been projecting Mr. Jaitley as the next Deputy Prime Minister of India, and they say that once he's elected and Mr. Narendra Modi forms the government, Amritsar will have the second most powerful voice in the Union Cabinet.
Then why did they deny it? This is what they said. They said that Mr. Badal has a habit of saying things which suit the event. I've seen him for 47 years. He's an absolute liar. I mean, I know him, you know, backwards, Mr. Badal. I worked with him. I was in the Akali Dal for 10 years. He never stands by what he says, and he uses events to suit himself. Badal said Jaitley will be Deputy Prime Minister. 2 hours later, Jaitley gives a statement to say, I'm not a candidate for Deputy Prime Minister. In between, I was asked, what do you have to say about this? And I said that the thing is that if it's a BJP decision, that the BJP show us where the working committee has approved him to be a Prime Minister, and I would accept it. Don't give it to me, give it to the national media, and we'll do that. After Jaitley said this, by the evening, Mr. Badal gives another statement to say that, you know, these things we say, we don't mean them, we just say them on an occasion. So, you know, you don't go seriously by what Badal says. I'm yet to hear him speak the truth in 47 years of an association with him.
Are you worried that they will rake up the 1984 history, they will rake up the unfortunate events at Golden Temple, and they're blaming the Congress for being responsible?
No, I'm going to tell you something on that. Yes, the Congress was in government, and it was the Prime Minister's decision to take whatever decision she took, and they did the Blue Star action. I did not agree with it. I resigned from Parliament. I resigned from my seat in Parliament. That's one side of the story. As time has passed, if you dig up documents, you will find, number one, Mr. Badal met the Home Minister, Mr. Narasimha Rao. Present were the Cabinet Secretary Krishna Swami Rao Sahab, present Mr. Alexander, who was the Principal Secretary of the Prime Minister, and there was also, along with him, Mr. Wali had taken over as Home Secretary. And he categorically told the Home Minister, alone he met, incidentally, they were the team which was allocated for this discussion, which was Mr. Barnala, Mr. Toda and Mr. Badal. But that day he met him alone, and he said, please go ahead, whatever you have to do.
Are you saying that...
Yes, it's in the white paper. It's not I'm not saying it. It's in the Government of India's white paper, saying that this is what happened. I made this charge against him 4 months ago. He refuses to answer. He fobs it left or fobs it right and gets out of the situation. That's
Are you willing to debate him publicly on this?
Of course, he can come. I know Badal backwards, he won't come. I challenge him on that. I challenge him today for a debate. Ask him, will he come? He won't do it. Because he knows he's never told the truth. So he'll be caught on so many issues. But ask him. Yes, I challenge him on this. Number two, as far as, if you look at Mr. Advani's book, he led a procession, that one, My Life, My Country. He led a procession to Parliament saying, take action. Then he took some of his senior colleagues, went to the Prime Minister and said, take action. How can these fellows get out of it also? They are putting the pressure. Mr. Advani's put the pressure, Mr. Badal's put the pressure, and the Prime Minister has taken the decision, so everyone is involved in this whole business.
So you're saying that the BJP and the Akalis were involved in this?
Absolutely. You read. Why don't you read Mr. Advani's book of My Life, My Country? He makes it. He's put a picture there of the party marching on Parliament to say take action. Then he's also commented. It's the whole page on it that we all went, senior colleagues. I led them to see the Prime Minister to say enough is enough. Take action. The other side, Badal is mentioned in the white paper, which I've got here with me. Chandik, you can have a look at it after this. Only meeting Badal had with the Home Minister alone was this, in which he's made this comment, and which is recorded. It's all there in black and white in the records.
Sir, your opponents will say that you're raising all these issues now because you want to deflect attention, or you're trying to preempt the Akalis, who you're worried might raise the involvement of congressmen in anti-Sikh riots.
But I think if you want to gain from it, I would be raising the fact that I have resigned on Blue Star because I differed with the Prime Minister. I would be saying that I resigned from Parliament because I differed with the Prime Minister, and for 10 years I fought against this issue. I should be saying that, but I'm not saying it. That everyone knows that I resigned on the issue of Blue Star. But here is something which is a fact. Facts are facts, and these are in the books. I haven't written it. Mr. Advani has written his own book. And I haven't written the white paper, the Government of India white paper, and it has been produced, and not even a comma and a full stop can be wrong in that.
When you say all this, does this strike a chord with your electorate? What is the feedback you're getting?
Well, I've said it today in the press, and there were big claps all around, which in the press conference. This is my first meeting. I only arrived yesterday.
But don't you think people have moved? I mean, people have moved away from the past.
Absolutely. People don't want to hear it. That is why I'm not saying so. Otherwise, I could say I'm a great hero. I resigned on this, and I resigned from my seat in Parliament. Am I saying it? I'm not saying it. It's these chaps who are saying it.
Does it not worry you that your opponent here is being supported by the Akalis and Mr. Modi, and that he's being supported by who many people believe could be possibly India's next Prime Minister? Do you see a Modi wave in these parts?
Can you see a Modi wave? I mean, look around Amritsar, look around Punjab. Punjab is today responding to an anti-incumbency wave which is in the state government, not to what's happening in the country. They are fed up in these 7 months. These fellows have beaten everyone black and blue. They've criminalized the whole thing. They take police, they put people in the lockup and have them thrashed till they come out. Today, one boy in Amritsar has been beaten up. Why? Because he, in a genuine bid, in a liquor bid, got the agency whatever he was looking for, and this Majita's fellow came and said, you do this, and thrashed him till he gave him the chit. And say, now you can take my own thing over. There is no rule of law in this city, in this state. It's complete gundagardi which is ruling it. And Mr. Badal is oblivious to the fact. He just does his Sangat Darshans, go doling out money here and there. What is happening in the state, everybody knows. 70% of Punjab is under the drugs. Today, who is dealing in these drugs? These are Akali leaders who are dealing in the drugs.
There's a generational shift happening in your party. It's happening in the BJP. There's trouble there. It appears to be happening in the Congress party as well. Are you confident that your new leadership, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, and I'm naming him, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, has it in him to carry all to the future?
I think so. Let me tell you also, Mr. Modi may have been a good chief minister. Nobody denies that. I used to meet him when I was at chief minister's conferences. But you know, Mr. Modi's outlook is also, let's say, not ancient or antediluvian, but certainly towards what used to be, and not what it should be. In the case of Rahul Gandhi, it's forward-looking, looking 20 years ahead or 25 years ahead, or what we did here, looking to Amritsar 25 years ahead. So I think there is a difference in Modi as a campaign. Whether he comes up or not, I don't know. It's only the people of India can decide that.
Whether it's a former Maharaja of Amritsar or one of India's leading elites, all of them have to get their hands dirty when it comes to wooing the masses. Mr. Arun Jaitley rode on this very tractor to come here and address the meeting and mingle with the masses. Amarinder Singh is doing his bit. We'll only know once the election results come out who the people have bought into. With camera person Sanjay Chaudhary, this is Javed Ansari in Amritsar for Headlines Today.